Cherubs, we're going to start reading Never Let Me Go together. It's not going to be easy, both because of this format and because this is a difficult book. And that's where I want to start this. It's a difficult book. It might seem like a YA book. Lots of young adults read it. Some libraries have it classified as young adult book, but it's not. It's not a young adult book. I mean, it is in some ways, but really, it's not. The protagonists are teens. It takes place in a boarding school setting. There's a love story. There's a mean girl. It may as well be one of John Green's first books. Like, those have similarities. But it's not. It's not a John Green book. It's by Kazuo Ishiguro, and this man has won the Nobel Prize in Literature. He's won the most prestigious literary awards that the English-speaking world has to offer. He's won the Booker Prize. This guy's difficult. And I love John Green and Rainbow Rowell as much as anybody else can, but this is complicated literature, and this is going to be difficult fiction. In other words, this is what I do on the weekends, so I'm really excited to share that with you and show you where I hang out. Also, I just want to note that I keep on changing positions like this just to piss off Fabio. Miss you all. Okay, to business. Because this is difficult fiction, I want to give you a couple things to think about as you begin reading. The first is related to that whole young adult thing. I want you to think about those books, those young adult books, and think about the different elements that those kinds of books have. Those coming of age stories always seem to have certain elements and certain expectations that come with them, so I want you to start thinking about what those expectations are. A big part of understanding this book is going to be understanding how Ishiguro plays with the expectations of the genre. So before we start reading, it's important to outline some of those, set those expectations, and then when they're messed with, we can see why or how or what the meaning is behind that playful messing with our expectations. Like when you see a book that takes place in a boarding school with teenage protagonists, what do you expect to happen? The second thing to think about is the first-person narration. When an author chooses a first-person narration, they have to do it with intention. Writing in a third-person omniscient is so much easier. You can fill in plot gaps, get into people's heads, describe scenes from the outside. With the first-person narration, you are limited to one character's head. You can only know what that character knows. The voice of that character needs to be maintained throughout the entire book. It's really hard to write a whole novel like this. So when an author does it, that author does it with a purpose. The first-person narration has to do something in the novel. I think The Curious Incident of the Dog and the Knight is an obvious example of this. That book would not be nearly as good if it was written in a third-person omniscient. We would miss out on Christopher's perspective. We would probably not be able to build the empathy we have for him if he wasn't our narrator. And that empathy is a huge part of that novel. He also establishes a way of looking at the world for us. He's unreliable in some ways and extremely reliable in other ways. Christopher adds a lot of meaning in that book. So our first-person narrator in this novel is Kath H. The first time I read this novel, I'll be honest, I found the story interesting, but I did not find her interesting. The second time I read the novel, however, I was obsessed with her. I could not stop thinking about how much she brought to the novel. So I can't wait to hear what you think and what your initial reactions are of her. So after you read those first few pages, I'm going to ask you to reflect on those initial reactions, so make sure you have reactions to talk about. The third thing I want to address in this intro is that it's okay to not know what's going on. This book asks you to joyfully inhabit a world in which you do not understand the rules. You will not know what it means to be a carer for a long time. You will not understand why they were all in this quirky school in the first place, or why they care so much about their art, and you're not going to understand those things for a while. Be okay with that. Enjoy the ride. You know, when I say it out loud like that, it really feels like there might be a deeper meaning there. The book asks you to enjoy being in a world that you don't fully understand. It's kind of like life generally. I don't get the rules of this place either. Like, how do I make friends? How am I supposed to feel about the Kardashians? Can I still listen to Michael Jackson's music? Are ethics real or a social construct? How do we solve the grounding problem? I don't know. I don't know the rules of this world either, so enjoy the fictional world that Ishiguro has created for us. And as always, thanks for watching.